Imagine you're standing in the middle of like the most brilliant, chaotic brainstorming session on Earth, you know?
It was total high-energy chaos.
Right. And the smartest engineers in San Francisco, leading tech philosophers, top-tier founders, they're all in this massive room and they're just shouting out billion-dollar ideas in real time.
Which sounds amazing.
It is. It's intoxicating. But then you notice something kind of strange. The doors to this room are locked from the outside.
Well, yeah.
And the bouncers at the door, they are literally checking everyone's pockets to make absolutely sure you aren't allowed to leave with any of your own notes.
Right, which completely changes the dynamic of the room. I mean, suddenly you have to ask yourself, am I in a collaborative workshop or am I just a captive generating free value for the owner of the building?
Exactly. And welcome to the deep dive. Okay, let's unpack this. It is Friday, May 29, 2026, and today we are tearing into some incredibly rich source material. It's this highly detailed blog post titled Netizen, What Makes X, formerly Twitter, Great and Not So Great.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating piece.
It really is. Our mission today is to figure out how human knowledge actually circulates on the modern internet, and we are doing it through the eyes of a deeply prolific tech futurist and author who is, quite frankly, living right in the center of that tension.
Yeah, and we need to set the stakes here early for the listener because we are looking at a fundamental clash in digital architecture.
Definitely.
I mean, on one hand, this author argues that X is functioning as a global zero-latency thinking network, which is huge.
Yeah.
But simultaneously, X is kind of reverting to a defensive walled garden strategy, what the author actually calls dinosaur era, AOL thinking.
Oh, man. AOL thinking. We're definitely going to get into that. But the outcome of this tension, it basically dictates how ideas will spread for the next decade.
Right.
But before we even touch his specific critiques of X, I feel like we have to look at the source itself. I mean, the author is Paramendra Bhagat, and his digital footprint is, well, it's staggering.
It really is.
When you look at his blog archive, which is included in the source data, it goes all the way back to 2005.
Wow. 2005.
Yeah, that is 21 years of continuous high-volume internet documentation. He's got over 7.5 million total page views. But honestly, it's his bibliography in the sidebar that tells you how this guy thinks.
Totally. Because his output spans so many highly complex, disparate fields. He isn't just a commentator. He's mapping out massive infrastructural shifts.
Right.
Just look at the titles. Physical AWS, how the logistics cloud will reshape global commerce.
Wait, hold on. Let's break that down for a second for the listener. Logistics cloud. What does a physical AWS actually mean in the context of what he's studying?
Okay, so think about Amazon Web Services AWS.
Right.
It revolutionized software by allowing developers to basically rent computing power in the cloud instead of, building their own physical servers in a closet somewhere.
Which was a massive paradigm shift.
Huge. So Bhagat is projecting that exact same concept onto physical reality. Imagine a world where robotics, supply chains, autonomous shipping, it's all integrated so seamlessly that a company can just rent physical logistics the same way they rent server space.
Oh, wow. So instead of buying a fleet of trucks, you just ping an API and a drone or an autonomous truck handles your physical goods.
Exactly. But doing that requires an unfathomable amount of global data coordination.
Right. Which actually makes the next title in his sidebar make total sense. It's called Himalayan Compute, Grand Solara Vision.
Yeah, that one is fascinating.
He's tracking the geopolitical distribution of data centers and raw computing power. And then he writes a book called Agentic AI, set to explode in 2026.
And we really need to clarify agentic AI for anyone listening right now, because honestly, the definition of AI shifts every 6 months.
Oh, at least every 6 months. Yeah.
We aren't talking about a chatbot that just writes a polite email for you anymore, are we?
Not at all. I mean, a traditional language model gives you text, it answers a question, but agentic AI takes action. It acts as an autonomous agent.
Right.
So you don't ask it to write an email. You give it a high-level goal, like, optimize my company's supply chain routes in Southeast Asia. And the AI independently interacts with other software, buys the freight space, reroutes the ships, checks the weather. It just does it.
It's doing the actual work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And while he's tracking autonomous global logistics and the explosion of active AI, he is also writing fiction, like actual novels.
Yeah, which is kind of wild.
The Founder and the Fisherman, 6 Weeks from Zero, The Garden of Last Debates.
I mean, this is the profile of a true polymath. At the top of his post, he notes that the impending age of abundance was actually prophesied in scriptures thousands of years ago.
Wow. So he's merging tech with philosophy.
Exactly.
Right.
He is looking at technology through a macroeconomic, almost spiritual lens. So, when a mind that operates on that level logs onto a social media platform, he isn't scrolling for entertainment.
No, definitely not. He's not looking for celebrity drama or like the latest meme format.
Right. He is evaluating the platform as a high-speed nervous system. Because if you are tracking agentic AI and global compute, you cannot wait for a monthly magazine.
Or even a weekly newsletter.
No, not at all. The half-life of information in these fields is measured in hours, if not minutes. You need a platform that functions literally at the speed of thought.
Which perfectly frames his first major point about X. He believes that recent iterations of the platform, specifically since the AI company XAI became deeply integrated into its algorithmic curation, are wildly succeeding.
Yeah, he makes a big point of that.
He describes the difference as night and day, and he uses this brilliant phrase. He calls it San Francisco Online.
It's such a great phrase because it captures a very specific cultural and intellectual density. You know,
Yeah,
like the offline city of San Francisco has historically been characterized by high concentrations of founders, engineers, venture capitalists, all just bumping into each other at coffee shops and sharing raw ideas.
right, serendipitous network.
Exactly. And he is arguing that X has successfully digitized that exact geographical dynamic.
But he specifically credits the text-first nature of X as the reason this works. He says the platform rewards raw ideas and substance over spectacle.
And that is a crucial distinction.
But I want to push on this a little bit because if you look at the broader internet in 2026, text feels almost archaic.
It really does.
I mean, we're completely saturated by short-form, vertical video, ultra-high production video essays, immersive media. Doesn't relying on text put a platform at a severe disadvantage?
Well, you have to look at the friction involved in the medium itself.
Okay, what do you mean by friction?
So video, even just a casual TikTok or a YouTube short, it requires a massive amount of overhead. You need good lighting, you need decent audio, you need to edit the clips, maybe add some B-roll, and honestly, you need to perform.
Right, you have to be on.
Exactly. That is spectacle. And spectacle is friction.
Ah, I see. It slows down the actual transmission of the idea.
Precisely. If a researcher at DeepMind has a massive breakthrough thought about a new neural network architecture at, like, 2:00 a.m., they aren't going to set up a ring light and record a video.
No, they're probably in their pajamas.
Right. They're going to type a 200-word paragraph and just hit send. A text-first platform removes the barrier between the brain and the network. It strips away all that performance art.
That makes total sense. The San Francisco crowd doesn't want the polished marketing pitch. They want the raw, pencil-sketched blueprints.
Exactly. The blueprints are the value.
That really makes me think about our listeners right now. Like, if you're listening to this, I want you to audit your own media diet for a second. Think about how many times you've clicked on a video with a flashy neon thumbnail, sat through a 3-minute, highly produced intro, a sponsor read, all the shiny B-roll, just to extract one single concept that could have been a 2-sentence text post.
Oh, it happens all the time.
The fatigue of spectacle is so real right now.
It's cognitive bloat. I mean, text is fundamentally the most compressible, high-density format for data transfer between human beings.
Right.
But there is a secondary mechanism here that makes the text-first approach actually work, and it's how XAI has allegedly altered the platform's algorithm.
Right. He mentions the timeline improvements are night and day. What actually changed under the hood there? Because algorithms are sort of a black box.
They are, but historically, social media algorithms optimized purely for engagement, which usually just meant outrage, conflict, or really simple viral dopamine. Angry politics or funny cat videos.
Right, the stuff that makes you stop scrolling and comment immediately.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But XAI's integration seems to have shifted the weight toward semantic understanding. The algorithm is getting much better at reading a dense, raw text post about, say, quantum computing, understanding the actual meaning of the text, and then delivering it directly to the screens of the 2,000 people on Earth who actually understand it.
Wow. So it's not just blind broadcasting to the masses, it's precision targeting for raw intelligence.
Yes, exactly.
But raw text and a smart algorithm still need a human network to function. Which brings us to Bhagat's next 2 pillars of the platform: permissionless networking and infinite niche personalization.
These are huge concepts.
He points out that on X you can tweet directly at anyone. There are no gatekeepers, no secretaries, no cold emails that end up in a spam filter.
Right, the structural hierarchy of the business world is just completely flattened.
Yes, but let's be realistic here for a second. Permissionless is often just a polite word for chaotic.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
mean, it's like walking into the VIP room at the biggest conference in the world. Sure, I can tap the CEO of a major AI lab on the shoulder, but so can a million other people, including trolls, spam bots, and just angry customers. Doesn't flattening the hierarchy just create a deafening roar of noise? How is a billionaire founder supposed to find a good idea in a sea of spam?
That is the ultimate vulnerability of the system, right?
Yeah.
But the mitigation relies on what the author calls infinite niche personalization.
Okay, unpack that.
The chaos only exists if you engage with the chaos. The platform uses multi-dimensional vector mapping to build your specific feed.
Multidimensional vector mapping. Okay, let's translate that into English for us non-engineers.
Sure, okay. Imagine a massive, invisible grid. Every time you pause on a post, every time you expand a reply, every time you click a link about, say, sparse attention mechanisms, the algorithm plots a little point on that grid.
Okay, I'm with you.
Over time, it builds a complex mathematical shape of your specific intellectual interests. If your shape mathematically matches the shape of a high-level biotech researcher, the algorithm starts connecting your nodes. It filters out the trolls because the trolls have a completely different shape.
Ah, so it filters the chaos by learning your specific frequency.
Exactly.
Bagat actually gives us an example of this in his own reading list. His sidebar is packed with links to the DeepMind blog, MIT News, PyTorch documentation, Bitcoin magazine, and these highly technical AI papers. He is aggressively signaling to the algorithm, I only want high-signal data.
Which puts the burden of quality entirely on the user.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, if your feed is a chaotic, noisy mess, the architecture of the platform suggests that it's because your engagement habits are chaotic and noisy. You are the architect of your own network.
Man, that is a brutal mirror to hold up to the user. Like, if you hate your feed, it's your own fault.
Kind of, yeah. But when you get it right, when you feed the algorithm high-quality inputs, Fagat says the result is an endless, permissionless brainstorming session.
Let's contextualize that with one of the specific tech news items Pagat linked in his post because it really illustrates this. He links to a story with the headline, Minimax teases upcoming M3 model with new sparse attention mechanism.
Yes, I saw that. And we should actually pause and explain what a sparse attention mechanism is because it proves why this real-time brainstorming is so vital.
Please do.
Okay, so in traditional large language models, when the AI reads a prompt, it uses what's called dense attention.
Dense attention.
Okay, right. It looks at every single word in the context window and calculates its mathematical relationship to every other word. So if you feed it a 500-page book, it is doing an astronomical amount of math, reading every single the and but, which costs millions of dollars in raw compute power.
It's just brute force reading. It doesn't know what to ignore.
Exactly. A sparse attention mechanism teaches the AI to ignore the filler and only calculate the relationships between the most critical, high-value words in the sentence.
Wow, so it just skips the noise.
Right. It drops the compute cost drastically while maintaining the intelligence. Now, why does Bagat care? Because if you are tracking the global age of abundance and Himalayan compute, a breakthrough in sparse attention means AI just got exponentially cheaper and faster overnight.
And he can't wait a month for a printed magazine to explain that to him.
Exactly.
He sees the headline on X, dives straight into the replies, watches engineers from different companies debate the actual math in real time, asks a question directly to the lead developer, and gets an answer right then and there. The brainstorming session is live.
But notice how he actually processes that session. He doesn't rely on X exclusively. He details a highly sophisticated, multi-platform cognitive loop.
Yes. This is where his workflow gets super fascinating. He uses X to catch the real-time pulse of a topic like that sparse attention breakthrough, but then immediately pivots. He uses a Grok query to synthesize the chaos.
Grok being the native AI built into the X platform.
Right, but he isn't using it as a simple chatbot like tell me a joke, he's using it as an ingestion engine.
Which is such a modern workflow.
It really is. He sees 100 different engineers arguing about sparse attention on his timeline, and instead of reading every single post, he asks the AI to analyze the entire real-time stream and just give him the consensus, along with the outliers.
It's literally like having a brilliant chief of staff sitting right next to you, summarizing the brainstorming session as it happens.
Yes, but he doesn't stop there. He then pairs X with YouTube.
Which is just a beautiful acknowledgement of the limitations of text.
Exactly. He argues that while X gives you the instant reaction, YouTube delivers the nuance. Because text strips away tone. It strips away emotion and hesitation.
So true.
So Vagat goes to YouTube to watch the founders actually speak. He wants to hear the tone of voice when a CEO talks about their new compute cluster. Like, do they sound confident? Do they sound nervous? Are they hesitating?
He is treating the internet as a symbiotic ecosystem. X is the nervous system detecting the stimulus. Grok is the analytical lobe processing it. And YouTube is the empathetic cortex interpreting the human element.
Wow, that's a great way to put it.
No single platform is the entire brain. They are interconnected organs.
Interconnected organs. I want you to keep that metaphor in your head, listener, because it perfectly sets up the massive fundamental conflict in this source material. Vagat sees an open symbiotic ecosystem, but the management at X, they're operating under a completely different philosophy.
Yeah, and this leads to what Bhagat calls his biggest head-scratcher, the platform's monopolistic misstep, the war on external links.
This is wild to me. According to the Post, X actively punishes users who include links to outside websites. If you try to point your followers to a YouTube video or a deep dive research paper or even your own personal blog, the algorithm deliberately limits the reach of that post.
Let's explain the actual mechanics of how a platform punishes a post, because people might not know how this works.
Yeah, how does it physically do that?
So the recommendation algorithm scores every single piece of content. It assigns positive weights to things like replies, reposts, and time spent reading. But if the parser detects an sref tag, which is just the code for a hyperlinked URL pointing to an external domain, it assigns a massive negative weight to the post's virality score.
Meaning the algorithm simply refuses to show it to people in the For You feed. It just buries it.
Exactly, it throttles the distribution.
Bagat compares this to old AOL thinking. For anyone who didn't experience the dial-up era, AOL didn't want you to surf the open World Wide Web. They wanted you to stay inside the AOL software, reading AOL news and using AOL chat rooms. It was a walled garden.
And X is trying to build a modern walled garden. They're forcing creators to write everything natively on their platform. If Agat wants to talk about agentic AI, X wants him to write a 3,000-word post directly on the timeline, not link out to his blog.
Okay, I'm going to put on my corporate strategist hat for a minute here and play devil's advocate.
Okay, let's hear it.
I want to defend the walled garden for a second. X paid billions of dollars for this network. They have massive, mind-boggling server costs, and their entire business model relies on ad revenue and user engagement time.
True.
So if a user clicks a link and leaves the app to read an article on MIT News, X can no longer serve them ads. The user is gone. So from a purely capitalistic perspective, why shouldn't they block the exits? If I own a casino, I don't put giant neon signs pointing to the rival casino across the street. I keep you at my slot machines.
Your casino logic is absolutely flawless if you are selling cheap dopamine.
Okay, fair.
But remember what Vagat is actually using X for. He's using it as a global thinking network. The casino model destroys the thinking network because the internet is not a closed loop. It is a superhighway.
Go deeper on that. Why does blocking the exits destroy the value of the platform itself?
Well, Vagat explicitly states it. He says platforms win when they become part of the internet's circulatory system, not by trying to become the entire body.
The circulatory system.
Right, think about your casino analogy. Yes, you lock the doors, but what happens to the people inside? They eventually run out of money, they get exhausted, and the environment becomes totally sterile because no new air is coming in.
Right, it gets stale.
On a digital network, if you ban external links, you are essentially banning the importation of new verified facts. You are cutting off the oxygen.
Oh man, that makes so much sense. If I can't link to the actual source code on GitHub or the raw data on a biotech registry, then all we can do on X is just endlessly debate our opinions of the data without actually looking at the data itself.
Exactly. The discourse just devolves. Furthermore, if you build a superhighway and then block all the RFRAMs to keep the cars on your road, you don't get a better highway.
No, you just get a massive toxic traffic jam.
Yes. And eventually, the smart drivers, the founders, the engineers, they stop using your highway altogether because it doesn't actually take them anywhere they want to go.
That is such a powerful critique. Vagat notes that to bypass this suppression, he has to resort to these hacky workarounds, like mentioning specific handles instead of linking and relying on his personal blogs to get wider distribution.
Which is just creating unnecessary friction again.
Totally. And this forced migration, making people write long-form posts directly on X instead of linking out, it brings up a massive structural problem. And that is the difference between a stream and an archive.
Oh, this is a profound architectural actual critique.
Let's talk about it. X is fundamentally a chronological stream. It is a river of information constantly flowing downward.
Right, it's built for the now.
Exactly. If I write a brilliant 5,000-word essay about global logistics directly on X today, it might get a ton of attention for 24 hours. People are retweeting it, commenting on it, but by next week,
It's gone.
it is buried under a million new posts. It's virtually unsearchable.
It lacks digital permanence. Now contrast the X stream with Bhagat's actual blog, which he has maintained since 2005.
Right, we looked at the sidebar earlier. He wrote like 11,178 posts in the year 2011 alone.
It's just wild.
And because it's a blog, it has actual architecture. It has categories, tags, embedded media, formatting. It functions like a highly organized public library.
Exactly. A stream washes away, but an archive builds a foundation. Bhagat explicitly points out that while longer posts are welcome on X, they completely lack the structure and media richness of a traditional blog post.
Yeah, he states, not every platform needs to do everything. Many of the features I wish X had are probably better built as additional layers by third parties anyway.
Which gets to the heart of how human knowledge is preserved over time.
Right. If our primary thinking network actively suppresses links to permanent archives and basically forces everyone to dump their best ideas into a temporary stream, aren't we just condemning ourselves to digital amnesia?
That's the real danger. We risk a scenario where we are constantly reinventing the wheel.
Yeah.
If the breakthrough insight on sparse attention mechanisms is washed down the timeline and can't be easily referenced 6 months later, the community loses its collective memory. The infrastructure of the platform directly dictates the longevity of the knowledge it hosts.
It's like writing a textbook on a whiteboard in a busy hallway. Someone's eventually going to erase it.
Perfect analogy.
So we have a platform that is brilliant at real-time connection, but terrible at long-term memory and actively hostile to outside links. That pretty much covers the architecture. But what about the culture? The actual people populating this San Francisco online?
Well, Bhagat makes a highly specific observation about the political and cultural climate of the platform, and it's one that really challenges the dominant narrative.
Okay, before we get into this, I want to frame this for our listeners very carefully.
Yeah, that's important.
We are looking purely at the mechanics of algorithmic curation based on Bhagat's 2026 data. We are simply analyzing how digital environments cluster human behavior. We are not endorsing any political viewpoint, left or right. We're just looking at his experience.
Absolutely. We are impartial observers here.
So what he observes is that despite the media reputation of X being this chaotic political war zone, his personal feed is virtually devoid of right-wing or left-wing tribal shouting.
He essentially proves that a high-quality, low-drama experience is completely viable on the platform.
But I have to push back on the idea of it being low drama, generally speaking.
Yeah.
If you log on to X without an account, or if you look at the trending topics, it is objectively saturated with political warfare and cultural outrage. How can he claim it's a low-drama environment?
Well, because he isn't looking at the generic, logged-out version of the platform. He is looking at his bespoke, vector-mapped feed.
Oh, right.
Remember the infinite niche personalization we discussed earlier?
Yes, the grid.
The algorithm is a mirror. It reflects the user's input.
Because he only clicks on AI papers, global trade analysis, and robotics. The algorithm realizes, oh, this user does not respond to political outrage, and it simply stops serving it to him.
Exactly. It's a feedback loop. But he takes it a step further and compares X to its competitor, Threads.
Okay, what does he say about Threads?
He notes that Threads, by contrast, remains a gold mine. If you want to watch Democrats creatively complain about Trump and his administration, hugely entertaining, if that's your thing.
Wow. This is such a revealing piece of data regarding how platforms develop monolithic cultural identities.
It really shows that algorithms don't just sort information. They optimize for specific emotional resonance.
Emotional resonance, that's a great way to phrase it.
Yeah, if Threads' algorithm learned early on that its initial user base engaged most heavily with political grievance and creative complaining, the algorithm amplifies that specific emotional tone to maximize time on site. It creates an entirely different cultural ecosystem than X's San Francisco online.
If you're listening to this right now and your social media feed, whether you're on X, Threads, or anywhere else, is just a nonstop barrage of toxic political arguments that raise your blood pressure, Bhagat is basically saying that the algorithm built that world for you because you kept clicking on it.
Yeah.
Which is a really tough pill to swallow. I mean, it's like having a remote control with 1,000 channels. If you only watch the channels where people are screaming at each other, that's the world you think exists. The author proves you can just, change the channel. You are the curator of your own bubble.
The architecture of the internet in 2026 allows for a bubble of boundless innovation and abundance, or a bubble of endless outrage. The user holds the remote control.
So we have all the pieces on the board now. Let's synthesize Pagat's final verdict on the state of X. For him, the platform has fundamentally become a discovery engine.
Right.
It is the absolute best place in the world to catch the raw, real-time pulse of emerging technology through fast, text-heavy, permissionless conversation.
As a global thinking network, it is currently unparalleled. But the fatal flaw remains its monopolistic ambition.
Yes. The warning is very clear. X has to bring the links back. It cannot become the entire body. It must accept its role as the circulatory system. If it continues to build the walls higher and punish creators who try to connect to the broader web, it will eventually suffocate the very ecosystem of builders and founders that makes it valuable in the first place.
It's a very delicate balance. A network only survives if it facilitates connection, not just confinement.
Exactly.
But there is a final, highly provocative thought we really need to explore here, especially considering Pagat's focus on advanced AI like Grok.
Ooh, take us there. What's the thought?
We've spent this entire time debating the war on links and whether platforms should allow users to leave the walled garden to read an external blog.
Right.
But as AI models become infinitely faster and more integrated into these networks, we have to ask a kind of terrifying question.
Okay.
Will the concept of a link even exist in 5 years?
Wait, what do you mean, like no links at all?
Think about the Grok queries Pagat uses right now. He uses AI to summarize the timeline. But what happens when the AI can instantly parse the entire external web in a millisecond?
Okay.
When someone posts about a new MIT research paper, instead of providing a blue hyperlink that you click to leave X, the AI simply fetches the paper, reads the 50 pages, understands your specific level of technical expertise, and generates a perfect, customized summary natively inside your timeline.
Oh my God.
You never click a link, you never visit the external blog, you never leave the app. The AI brings the entire internet to you, completely pre-digested.
Wow. If that happens, the platform wins the war on links without firing a single shot.
Exactly.
The walled garden won't feel like a prison because the AI will make the walls feel infinite. You'll think you are exploring the whole world, but you're actually just staring at a highly personalized simulation inside a single corporate server.
The circulatory system gets entirely bypassed. The platform truly becomes the entire body, and we won't even realize it happened.
That is profoundly unsettling. And it fundamentally changes how we need to think about our digital lives. We started this deep dive talking about a locked room full of geniuses.
Right.
The reality is the locks might not be made of corporate policies or suppressed algorithms. The locks might just be made of sheer convenience. If you never have to leave the room to get the answer, you eventually forget the door is even there.
Yeah, you just stop looking for the exit.
Wow. Audit your digital diet, folks. Keep exploring the outside web while you still can. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.